My name's Rachel, and I don't like telling people I once hitchhiked. The second you admit it, you get the same reaction. What were you thinking? Truth is, I've asked myself that 100 times. But when you're stuck on the side of the road in late October, the sun's going down, your phone's at 6%, and your car coughs its last mile, your options start looking very different. I was 25 then, juggling my last semester of college and a part-time job at a bookstore. My old Honda Civic wasn't exactly reliable, but it usually got me where I needed to go: work, class, maybe lucky peek on weekends if I felt restless. That day, I was driving back from visiting a friend outside of town when, halfway home, the car sputtered, shook, and just died. No smoke, no drama, just silence. I sat there staring at the dead dashboard, muttering, "Perfect. Great timing. No cell service." Not surprising out there, but frustrating. The 2-lane stretch I'd stopped on was surrounded by nothing but fields. I got out, crossed my arms, and tried to look like I had it under control, even though my plan consisted of hoping someone would stop, let me borrow a phone, maybe give me a ride to the nearest gas station. It didn't take long before a dusty blue pickup slowed beside me. The driver rolled down his window halfway. "Car trouble?" He looked late 40s, stocky build, thinning brown hair, calm voice. "Yeah," I said, stepping closer. "It just died. No service out here." He nodded, like that didn't surprise him. "I can give you a lift into town. Closest station's about 10 miles up." Every safety lecture from my mom flashed through my head. But the sun was already dipping toward the horizon, and I didn't have many options. I told myself people offered rides all the time in rural Idaho. This wasn't Los Angeles. Folks out here were supposed to be decent. So I grabbed my backpack, locked the Civic, and climbed in. The cab smelled faintly of cigarettes and something sweet, maybe an air freshener clipped to the vent. The dashboard was cluttered with receipts and fast food napkins. Not filthy, but noticeable. "Appreciate it," I said, buckling in. "No problem," he replied. "Name's Rick." We made small talk, my studies, my job, how cars always seem to break down at the worst times. He chuckled, mentioned Murphy's Law. For the first 10 minutes, it felt almost normal. Then I saw it. Movement, in the corner of my eye, from the back seat. At first I thought it was just a blanket, one of those gray wool camping ones, shifting with the bumps in the road. But it didn't move like fabric. It bulged, then settled, as if something solid was beneath it. I glanced back. The blanket was tucked oddly tight along the seat, like it was hiding something. Rick caught my look in the rearview mirror. He didn't say a word. I forced myself to face forward, telling myself it could be camping gear or a duffel bag. But as we slowed near an intersection, I swear I saw the blanket lift slightly, like a chest rising with breath. My stomach tightened. Then, without me touching anything, the doors locked with a heavy click. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Hey, could you drop me at the station in town? My friend's meeting me there." "Sure," he said casually. "Station's a bit past this stretch." The blanket didn't move again, but I couldn't stop glancing at it. At a red light, my hand went for the door handle, instinct, but it wouldn't budge. Locked tight. I leaned forward, pressing a hand to my stomach. Oh man. I think that diner food earlier messed me up. I might throw up. Rick's eyes flicked toward me, skeptical. "I'm serious," I added, making a gagging sound. "If I don't get out, it's going to be all over your seat." He swore under his breath, eased toward the shoulder, and the locks clicked open. The second they did, I yanked the handle and bolted. I didn't look back. My backpack thumped against my spine as I sprinted. Up ahead, thank God, was a gas station, small, but lit. I ran straight inside and told the clerk to call the police. By the time officers arrived, the truck was gone. They took my statement, asked for a description, then one of them said, "You're not the first to report something like this." Apparently there'd been other cases. One driver, one person hidden, targeting stranded travelers. No arrests. That night, I sat in a diner clutching coffee, still shaking. I couldn't stop picturing that blanket, the way it rose and fell. I've never hitchhiked since. I check my car before every trip, and I never, ever ignore my gas light. Because the scariest part wasn't Rick. It was whoever I never saw, waiting in the back seat. It was May 2021, and I was a couple of days into a solo photo run through Arkansas. Everything was green and damp, buzzing with insects. I'd been chasing old storefronts, peeling paint, weathered signs, the kind of side project I liked between paid gigs. My cooler sat on the passenger floor under a towel. A leftover biscuit waited for later. My camera bag was wedged under a blanket in the back seat. That afternoon, I saw him. He stood on the shoulder just before a bend, thumb out, a cardboard sign in his other hand. The word Hazel was scrawled in faded marker, followed by anywhere close. A backpack slouched against his boot. He looked sunburned, cap stained with sweat. I slowed, because that's what I do. "You're a lifesaver," he said, leaning in my window with a quick grin. "Hop in." "I'm not going far, but I can get you closer," I told him. He buckled up like someone used to catching rides. Said his name was Rob. Or maybe Ross, I wasn't sure. He talked easy at first, fixing small engines, his mom living by a river I'd never heard of. He pointed out where good diners used to be, laughed at a church sign that read, "Jesus fixes what Google can't." For a while, it felt harmless. Then we hit a construction site. A flagger waved us to a stop. Heat rolled in through the windows. Rob tapped the dash. "Want to skip this mess? There's a cut-through." From his backpack, he pulled a folded county map, soft with use. His finger traced a squiggle through empty space. "Old County 8. Hang a right by the creek. You'll pop back past the construction. Easy." It felt adventurous. I didn't feel like sitting in line. So, I turned. At first, it was just another country road, mailboxes shaped like tractors, boats under tarps. Then the houses thinned. Power lines disappeared. Trees crowded in close. A brown sign read, "Bridge out ahead." "We're not going that far," Rob said. "Next left." The next left wasn't a road so much as two gray ruts in grass. My GPS blinked, then gave up completely. "Shortcut," he said again, smiling. I eased onto it. Dust rose behind us. Leaves brushed the mirrors. I noticed faded ribbons tied to some trees, fluttering weakly. "You ever shoot wildlife?" he asked suddenly. "Not really." "Shame. Out here, you just point and wait, you'll see something." His voice had changed, heavier. The humming he'd been doing earlier stopped. We dipped through a rut where a white ribbon hung low. A short length of chain lay in the ditch. I made excuses in my head, old hunting markers, kids playing. None of them settled the knot in my stomach. "Veer left," he said as we came to a fork. The right path was brighter, still worn. The left sank into pine shadow, beer cans gleaming in the weeds. "How much longer?" I asked. 10, he said, "too quick." I steered left. The ground softened. The tires slipped. "Crack the windows," he said. "Easier to hear if anyone's coming." "Coming?" The word echoed in my head. We passed a small clearing. Black scars marred the dirt, the kind left by something heavy sitting there for a long time. "This is faster," he said, but the smile was gone. I shifted into reverse. "I'm turning around." "You're fine." Another mile. "I'm turning around." His hand didn't touch me, but it hovered near the gear shift. "Forward's easier. Safer." I kept backing up. That's when he unbuckled. The seatbelt clicked. He opened the door and jumped out while the car was still moving, stumbled, then ran toward the trees ahead. He turned once. "You'll regret this," he called. Not a plea. Not a threat. Just a statement. Then he vanished into the dark. I took the other fork, the one with the light. Minutes later, power lines reappeared. Civilization slid back into place. At the next gas station, I filled up, even though my tank was nearly full. Bought a tea and a slice of pizza under a heat lamp. Checked the back seat twice. Weeks later, back home, a headline caught my eye: "Authorities search area near Old County Road after reports of missing man." No map, no details, but close enough. When I tell it now, I say I picked up a hitchhiker, got spooked, turned around. People laugh, say it's why you don't pick them up. Easy lesson. Clean ending. But sometimes, when I pass a dirt road veering left into shadow, I hear his voice again. "You'll regret this." Santa Fe, summer 2017. I was working the desk at a hostel, answering calls, booking tours, refilling the coffee pot. It was the kind of place where travelers drifted in with dusty boots and wide smiles, then drifted out again. That afternoon, I needed to run a few errands before my shift ended: printer paper from the office supply store, bread and fruit for the communal kitchen. The sun was sharp but the air was dry, the kind that makes shadows feel cold. I'd just pulled out of the grocery lot when I saw him. He stood on the corner by a low stucco wall, hands in his jacket pockets despite the heat. A black baseball cap shadowed his face. In one hand, he held a small white card, maybe an address, maybe instructions. I slowed. His eyes met mine, unreadable. "Need a ride?" I called out. He walked over, silent, and leaned just enough for me to see the card. An address was printed in neat black letters. Local. Only a few miles away. I nodded toward the passenger door. "Hop in." He sat without a word. Didn't ask about my day, didn't comment on the weather. Just watched the road ahead. I tried small talk. "Visiting someone?" No answer. Just the faintest twitch of his fingers against the card. 3 turns later, I pulled up in front of a beige apartment building. He got out, nodded once, and walked inside. "No, thanks, no wave. Just gone." I drove back toward the hostel, humming along with the radio. It wasn't until I parked that I noticed the weight in my tote bag. At first, I thought I'd just bought more than I remembered. But when I unzipped it, sitting on top of the bread and paper was a black USB stick. Plain. No label. I didn't remember buying it. Back inside, I set the bag behind the desk and told myself I'd check it later. By evening, curiosity won. I plugged it into the hostel's front desk computer. The folders inside were dated by year, going back more than a decade. I clicked one at random. Photos. Hundreds of them. Women, most of them standing by roadsides with backpacks or signs. Some were laughing, some looking impatient. All of them looked like they didn't know they were being photographed. I checked another folder. Same thing. Different women. Different roads. My stomach tightened as I opened the last folder. It was my car. My dashboard. My hands on the wheel. The angle was from behind my right shoulder, the back seat. Photo after photo showed me driving, eyes on the road, sometimes mid-sentence. The last one was of me turning into the hostel parking lot. I slammed the laptop shut. My coworker, Lucas, noticed my face. "What's wrong?" I told him. He didn't smile. Didn't say I was overreacting. He just said, "Don't open the newest folder. Call the police." I did. 2 officers came, asked questions, took the USB. They said they'd look into it and left. They never called back. For weeks after, I kept seeing baseball caps in crowds. Kept glancing in my rearview mirror, certain someone was in the back seat. I don't pick up passengers anymore unless they sit in front. Even then, I check the back seat twice before I get in. Because somewhere out there is someone who takes pictures of strangers, and the moment you realize you're one of them, it's already too late. Fall 2016, Tennessee. I was a junior in college, driving back from a weekend at my parents' place. My little hatchback hummed along the back roads I always took to avoid interstate traffic. It was late, nearly 11 p.m., and the only light came from my headlights and the occasional porch lamp way out in the fields. That's when I saw her. She was standing on the shoulder just past a curve, hugging herself, head bowed. Even from a distance, I could see her shaking. She looked young, maybe 20, wearing a light sweater and jeans. I slowed. Rolled down my passenger window. "You okay?" She looked up. Tears streaked her face, catching the light. "My car broke down," she said, voice trembling. "Can you take me into town?" Every instinct told me it was risky, but leaving her alone out here didn't sit right either. I unlocked the door. She climbed in. We drove in silence for a minute. Then, just as suddenly as she'd started crying, she stopped. Wiped her cheeks. "You live around here?" she asked, voice steady now. "Not really. I go to school about 40 minutes away." "You got family waiting for you?" "Not tonight. Just heading back to my apartment." Her questions were casual enough, but they didn't feel casual. "Take the next right," she said, pointing. "It's quicker." The road she meant wasn't much more than a narrow strip of pavement disappearing into darkness. No streetlights. No traffic. "I usually just stay on the main road," I said. "Suit yourself," she murmured, leaning back. In my rearview mirror, two headlights appeared far behind us. One was dimmer than the other, like the bulb was about to burn out. The vehicle kept its distance at first. Then it started gaining. The girl glanced back. "Don't worry, that's just a friend." He was making sure I got picked up. My grip on the wheel tightened. The truck, I could see it now, stayed behind us through the next 3 turns. Close enough that I could make out the mismatched headlights, far enough to never quite touch my bumper. "Pull into that gas station," I said, spotting a faded sign ahead. "You can just drop me at the corner," she said. "No," I said, sharper than I meant to. I swung into the lot. The truck kept going, disappearing into the dark. The girl opened her door without a word, stepped out, and walked straight toward the payphone by the side of the building. She didn't look back. I went inside for coffee I didn't need. The clerk, an older man with white stubble, watched her through the window. "Where'd you find her?" he asked. "Side of the road." She said her car broke down. He shook his head slowly. "She's been around. Some nights she's alone. Some nights there's a truck or two waiting nearby. Folks say she's testing people. Others say she's bait." "Bait for what?" I asked. He didn't answer. When I left, the girl was gone. The payphone hung silent. I drove the rest of the way with the windows up, the doors locked, and my eyes on every set of headlights in the mirror. Even now, years later, I wonder if she really was stranded, or if I only passed her test because I didn't take that turn. Summer 2019, Texas Panhandle. I was halfway through a long drive from Austin to Colorado Springs, the kind where the road stretches like a ribbon into the horizon and the radio crackles with nothing but static between stations. It was early evening when I saw him. A lone figure walking along the shoulder, dust clinging to his jeans, his pale eyes almost luminous in the low light. He didn't carry much, just a small duffel slung over one shoulder. I slowed. Rolled down the passenger window. "Need a ride?" He nodded once. "If you're headed north." He climbed in. His clothes smelled faintly of rain, though the air had been bone dry all day. He sat with his back straight, hands folded neatly in his lap, eyes fixed not on me but on the rear window. "You all right back there?" I asked, half joking. "Making sure we're all right," he said. "From what?" He didn't answer right away. His gaze stayed on the empty road behind us. Then, you see them yet? A shiver crawled up my spine. I glanced in the rearview mirror. The highway was empty all the way to the shimmer of heat at the horizon. No, I said. See who? He blinked slowly, like he was deciding whether to explain. They don't like to be noticed. That's when they move closer. I laughed lightly, hoping he'd join in, but he didn't. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in streaks of orange and purple. The road ahead was empty, the road behind was empty, too empty. I realized I hadn't passed another car in at least 20 minutes. The radio fizzed and died completely. My phone's screen went black, even though it had been half charged. Don't stop unless there are lights, he said suddenly. Lights where? Any lights. Building lights. Street lights. Just not the dark. I tightened my grip on the wheel. At a faded green exit sign, he spoke again. Take this next turn. I didn't want to. The exit led to a patch of shadow between low hills, but I slowed, more from unease than trust. Before we reached it, a glint of yellow flickered ahead on the main road. A gas station, barely visible in the dusk. I'll get out here, he said. I looked around. Here? We're in the middle of nowhere. He was already unbuckling. You'll be fine. Just don't stop until you're somewhere with lights. I pulled onto the gravel at the side of the road. He opened the door, stepped out, and shut it gently. By the time I turned my head to check my mirrors, he was gone. Not walking down the shoulder, not climbing the slope, just gone. I drove straight to the gas station. The lot was empty except for an old pickup at the far pump. Inside, I grabbed a bottle of water and, before I could stop myself, asked the clerk, "Did you see a man come in here? Tall, pale eyes, duffel bag?" The clerk frowned. "No one's come through since I started my shift an hour ago." I left without another word. For the rest of that drive, every time the road ahead went dark, I thought about what he said, "Don't mistake quiet for safety." And sometimes, when I catch my reflection in the rearview at night, I think about those pale eyes watching the road behind us, and I wonder what he saw that I didn't.